24 today, and you can see on the screen right there, we're doing something a little different, something I've actually never hand reading. I've actually never tried doing this kind of hand reading before. A double villains range, or double villain ranges. So we're gonna have two villains in the hand along with ourselves, and so we've got to find some hands that went to showdown three-way. So we'll start with the filters here. Oh, and I'm just going to be using Flopzilla today. I'm not going to be using split suits templates, because those templates are for player v player kind of stuff. We've got player versus two players, so I'm just not going to try to fit it into one of those. So we'll just be working without templates. So you can see these were the filters before for the merge network showdown hands, where I called the pre-flop 2-bet. Let's remove that because I want to make sure we get enough hands. Add to the filter the number of players, and you can do this for the players at showdown between 3 and 3 players. Turn that puppy on. Add it to filter, all the same stuff except for 3 to 3 now. Save and apply filters. So let's see. I've actually never filtered for something like this before. I don't know what to expect. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we have 284 hands here. Losing, winning in different positions, but overall, if we get to showdown three ways, we've been winning a little bit over 2 big blinds up here. So let's find some hands. We looked at some small blind stuff, some big blind stuff quite a bit recently. Let's look at some early position stuff. So this is going to tell me, or not tell me, show me hands where, unless I'm up against the 2 blinds, I'm going to be out of position at least versus one other player. Post flop. So we have it sorted by flop action, turn action. Oh, river. Oh, nothing. So no hands. I didn't see any showdown hands that went 3 ways when I was in early position. Let's see MP now. So if we sort by river actions, all this stuff has no river actions, so that means I wasn't in the hand when it went 3-way at the end. So we don't want to look at those. We want to look at river action hands. Lots of checks, a raise and a bet, check, 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 check. Raise, check, call. So this is a possible, screw it. Let's just look at it. We don't need to go through. We already looked at EP, no hands, MP. Maybe tomorrow or in day 25 hand reading, maybe I'll look at cutoff, depending on how today goes, because I really don't know what to expect. Hand, ranging three opponents or two villains at once. So before we do this, let's whip out all our Flopzilla. That's where villain 1 is going to be, villain 2, my hand right here. So I'm going to assign myself just one random hand when we're looking at the hand based on my actions. I'm going to range my opponents, but I'm going to give myself one hand. And of course, as we're doing this, if you have more than one Flopzilla window open, you've got to be using hold EQ to pit range versus range kind of stuff. So let's look at this hand here. We get a limper, a super loose passive, another limper right here. Oh, that's awesome. It's a pretty big amount too. I've got what is a value hand, and I'm trying to get. Okay, awesome. So those are our 3 players: myself, stizznan, and rockobagiontilt. Okay, interesting. Rockobagiontilt, stizznan, and WackyJuan. So we'll put rockobagiontilt up here on this window, stizznan down here, and we'll put myself down here. Now, I obviously. Let's look at my simple, give myself one hand first. I am, versus 2 limpers, I'm doing an isolation raise. So it's a hand that I like. It's not like I just have pocket 3s and I want to see a flop and set mine. So I'm not going to give myself something that bad. I'm going to give myself something worth isolating one of these 2 loose passive. And I would love either one of these. This guy especially, look, is a 49-3. Love to play a pot, isolate him. He calls, he folds, and then great, we're heads up in position with a good hand. I'm just going to give myself something very simple. Ace-king suited. That's going to be my hand to start with. So we won't touch this again. I'm just going to stick with ace-king suited the entire time. But now, let's see here. We get a couple folds, and now rockobagiontilt in the small blind. You can see there's the button. The small blind decides to cold call. Not really cold call because he has a small blind in, but basically to cold call a full 6 big blinds here. He's a 31-8 player, so we're putting rockobagiontilt up here. What is he cold calling with in this instance? Super loose passive. I am not going to put 31-8. I'm not going to put like aces and kings or queens in his range. Maybe, no, actually I'll put queens in his range. So let's give him, he's super loose passive. Let's give him a wide range, 33%. He's calling, he's calling. I mean, the guy's so loose passive. Let's just say he's calling just about everything up top here in the Broadway spectrum. He's only re-raising aces and kings. I don't know enough about him to know that he would 3-bet queens here out of position versus potentially 1, 2, 3, 4 other players. So I'm not going to give him that 3-betting range. So we're going to put him on a very wide range here for calling. Maybe not this low here. Definitely all those pocket pairs. Every ace, so we just don't know much about him. We'll give him every single ace. We'll give him every Broadway, not these offsuit crappy Broadways. Let's give him down to Queen 8 Jack. Players like to call 9-6 suited or 69 suited. Now let's give him that. Okay, so this is his range. It's a pretty darn wide range at 446 combos right here. So that's interesting. 33% calling range that we're going to give this guy. We just don't know enough about him, and it's very possible with his stats, his pre-flop stats right there, 31-8, that he's calling something like this. And then stizznan decides to call. So what is his limp calling range for stizznan? We'll start with the same 33% or so. All these pocket pairs, 9s and 10s, and even jacks. Let's take a look. What was... I got to move this. There we go. So he was a 17-0. Oh, it's only 30 hands. He doesn't like to raise yet at all. But let's say that he will raise jacks and 10s. Let's keep 9s in his limp calling range. Maybe not 10s. Most players would raise 10s when they're first to act. Or even... oh. He is coming over. There was a limp already ahead of him. Maybe he would limp it with 10s as well. Jacks, we can put him in his raising range right here. King, queen, just limping. King, queen suited. See, it's tough just because he is so passive. I think he probably has a ton of these hands in his range. Let's do that. Jacks are better and ace, queen are better. He would be betting instead of limp calling. Yeah, so let's give him this kind of limp calling range. Let's see. I'm not going to say he's limping with those. Let's say limp calling. Let's say he's limp calling with these. He ends the action by just calling. So a lot of those initial limpy hands, especially a lot of that suited stuff that he can limp in with initially, can call here because he closes the action. I could see 8-7 off limping in. 7-6 off, possibly limping and then fold, or possibly limping and then calling. 6-5 off probably wouldn't limp in the first place. All these offsuit Broadways, offsuit aces, suited aces. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. So he has a slightly wider range at 474 combos, 35%. Now, if we are isolating with a nice hand like ace-king suited, oh, let's stop this. So it was running a Monte Carlo simulation. Currently, versus these two very similar ranges, we have 48% equity. Things are lovely right now, pre-flop, before the flop comes, versus these two players. And we have ultimate position buttons here, so we are against a small blind and an MP player. Here we are in the hijack, so things are looking great for us to win some money on this pot, or in this pot. Ace, 9, 10, spade, club, club. Great. So on that board currently, if these ranges are accurate, I'm sure it's run a few million hands already, I can hit stop. We have 64% equity because, of course, we have that top pair. We are behind a couple of sets that our opponents could have, set of 10, set of 9s, 2 pair, 10, 9, ace 10, ace 9, 2 pairs as well. But currently, I mean, things are looking pretty. We're basically going to be betting for value, I believe, on this pot right, or on this flop right here. We get a check. We get a check. And we check as well. Okay, so I do not have ace king. I probably have, I don't know, pocket 8s or 7s now for making this kind of check behind. I think I should bet as well, even if I had like kings or queens right here, even though it's an ace high board. We could see, looking at their ranges, they have tons of non-ace hands. Most of their hands are non-aces. This guy as well, right? So I should be betting with kings, queens, well, any pocket pair. I should be betting here just to rep that ace, just to try to get these guys off of their hands, because it's a straight bluff. You know, I want all the flush draws to fold. I want straight draws to fold. Not that they are folding, but I think I need to rep that ace, and if they hit absolutely nothing on this board, then my pocket queens can take down a pot right here. Let's say he had like, 5-6 of hearts, and then he had a queen 3 suited of hearts as well, whatever. They're both going to be folding on this board, and I can take it down with my pocket 8s or my pocket queens or kings here. Yeah, so I think it's a good board to bet, but I do decide to check. Now, let's see, first off, even though the action was checking, let's see here. Is there anything that he is automatically betting instead of checking? What was the name of this guy? Rockobagiontilt. Okay, so flops a set. He can definitely check with the intent to check raise. 2 pair can check, top pair can check, pocket pair check in, mid pair check in. Weak pairs, what are they? Oh, those are all totally checking. I mean, some of them pair plus a backdoor draw, totally checking. They don't, nothing out of this guy's range I think is forced to bet here. Nothing could be forced to donk lead. It's just good to think about it here. So I think all of these, 100% of his pre-flop range is checking here. Some of it is check raising sets and 2 pairs, possibly top pair if he really likes an ace king or an ace queen. But he's absolutely capable of 100% of his pre-flop range of checking and calling or checking and raising here. But he's definitely checking. Now this guy as well, I think the same thing holds true. All of his hands can check here. Even though one player already checked and showed passivity, even if he has a set of 9s or 10s, he could check here, hoping that I'm going to c-bet. So if I c-bet, he calls, he can call or even check raise to get value out of 2 players that are already in the pot right here. So it's totally conceivable that he is checking 100% of his range. Now, I do not think it's conceivable that I'm checking an ace-king suited here. I think I'm betting 100% of the time with ace-king, but I've already chosen that as my pre-flop holding, so if I take that away, now that would change the cards that these guys are capable of having here. And I just chose ace-king suited. Okay, cool. Yep, good. So currently, on this, still running a Monte Carlo, on this flop right here, with all of us checking, and being that ace king, I have 64% equity, but that's probably not accurate anymore. All right, so let's see here. Ace of clubs, what a lovely one. A min bet. So look at that, 25 cents into the $5 right here. It's probably not going for any kind of value. It's probably just a really weak bluff and a call and a call. Wow, that's interesting. So I guarantee I do not have a full house here. I don't have a set of 9s or a set of 10s for a full house. I don't have a random ace for trips. I would be raising for value. Look at the stacks on these players. I would definitely want to be building the pot. I probably just have some random club draw right here is my guess, wanting to keep it small. So that, now what is he donk leading here? Now, this guy's super loose passive. He could just be donk leading and hoping that he or I throw in a $4 raise. So he could be donk leading his sets. All of this stuff could be donk leading. Busted. Oops, I didn't put the card in. Did I? No, I didn't. He could be leading with all of his hands and everything, hoping for a raise. If he has quad aces here, if he has pocket 10s for a second nut full house, I mean, he should be betting more for value if he does have a value hand, but it's possible. I don't know much about this player. It's possible he's making this bet trying to get somebody to bluff raise him. So I've really got to keep every hand in his range right here. We all showed passivity pre-flop, so he could be just making a min bet trying to steal the pot with all of his bluffs, and then he could be betting with his really good hands right here. Now this guy, we can definitely limit his range. He's calling this tiny bet on this board. He does not have any kind of nut hands whatsoever. So he's keeping his range big by making that bet. He's going to narrow his range by making that call. So, no quads. He does not have a full house he would be raising. No flush he'd be raising. I really believe his flushes would be raising here on the third flush card. I mean, there's no point in thinking that somebody has him beat with a full house, so those are raising straights. 3 of a kinds, I really think 3 of a kinds are raising too. I don't see them just calling and hoping that I raise? No, I don't think so. Middle pairs can be calling here on this scary board. Weak pairs can be calling. I generally don't click no made hand because a lot of those are built in with other stuff too. Nut flushes second, third, all of these different draws could be calling because it is just a quarter to hit. And then, if he does hit a draw, but it's a 4th club and he had the gut shot straight draw, he can fold the river. So yeah, I'm going to say that, wow, look at that. Wait, nut flush, second, nut third, weak flush, no. Oh, whoops, because I have no flush draw. I shouldn't be clicking that. Open ender, gut shot, weak flush. Okay, so now with all of his draws and the middle and weak pairs, he has 62% of his flop range is making this call right here because he would be raising with the nut stuff. So he obviously capped his range by just calling on this super wet board. Because if he had a value hand, $5 and is $18 behind, he's going to raise. And then me too, with just my call, I don't have ace king. I have pocket jacks with a jack of clubs, that kind of a thing, or pocket queens with a queen of clubs here to make this call. I don't have a hand that I think I can raise for value, so I don't have trips or better in this instance, guaranteed. So as it stands with that flop range, I'm sorry, with the turn ranges selected here, we have, if we have trips now on that, we'd have 72% equity. Most likely we have something like take off the ace king. Let's put on the queens. If we have something like the queens, yeah, I'll go ahead and make the change. If we have something like the queens, we actually have now 50% equity versus these two players. This guy, this guy kept his range really wide by making that call. He narrowed his range big time, just weaker stuff and draw, so his equity is super low. But us, we have second pair right now, or you can think of it as two pair, I guess, pocket aces and queens. Not pocket aces, aces and queens, two pair. So we have 50% equity. Plus, we have a few queen of clubs in our range too for the second nut flush draw on this paired board. So we'll just keep it for queens for myself. Let's see what happens on this river. Woo! Nelly, a third ace, I mean. How lovely is that? Now the guy just min bets again? And now we have a raise. Oh man, he could be throwing me for a loop, and he actually had a third ace. And I decide to call too. Wow, so I think I have aces full of queens. Makes total sense to me. And he has aces full of tens or something, you know, to make that bet right there. And another call. So he decided he min bet. So let's go back to that. Min bet here on the ace of hearts. Good. I mean, if he wants value, he doesn't have quads, he doesn't have a full house, he's definitely going to be betting for more than just a min bet. Pocket pair below top pair. Those queens and jacks give him a full house. Ace is full. Those could be making that bet. Mid pairs, all those tens could be betting. Weak pairs could be betting as well. Because you could see overall, this guy is super freaking, where is he? Super freaking passive. It makes sense that he's betting and calling with all the full houses that are just weaker than quad aces. You know, so even if he had tens full, he's now just going to min bet and then call with aces full of tens. Well, tens full on the flop, or on the turn is what I meant to say. Flushes could be min bet calling, and that's it. Yeah, so we've actually finally done some narrowing of this guy's range based on his play right there. Tiny little min bet, because he's only min betting basically with some kind of a made hand. Right there. I mean, he could be bluffing again on that ace, but he's got to throw out a bigger bet to make it more plausible, I would say. Now, this guy coming with a tiny little 4x raise. It could be quads that he's doing that with. A full house as well, just trying to get value, maybe thinking I'm not going to call anything but just $1 on that scary board. Mid pairs he could be making that raise with as well. Weak pairs, what are those? Yeah, all those random 8s and 9s. Well, we don't want to say. I think we can remove some of these weak pairs from his range for sure. I don't see why he would be raising with this stuff unless it's a weak bluff with a showdown kind of hand. It just feels super like a super bad bluff to me. Like you're not gonna making that dollar feels like you want a call. So I'm not even gonna put these under pair 9s. Actually, no, let's not put any of these in. Let's cancel. None of these 9s. These mid pairs with 10s could do it because he beats all the aces full of 9 hands, and he beats anything if anybody has a lower pocket pair. He beats with his 10 right now. So we're going to say he has that. He's not doing with flushes, no. So we've actually narrowed him down again quite a bit from 447 hands pre-flop to 125. This guy had a 400 and something as well, down to 140 right now. So that's great. So if we do have the pocket queens, we have aces full of queens. Right now we have 92% equity in this hand versus these two ranges. Now, because I don't know how they play, I'm not going to say that pocket queens is an automatic raise here because just how passive these guys are. I think we have 80% of the time we have the best hand. But it's very possible that this guy has been slow playing an ace the whole way, finally hit quads and decided to make a small bet because nothing else would pay him off. It is possible. So just because we have the third nut hand, the nuts, like the total nuts, would be any ace, right? For quads. The second nuts would be pocket kings for ace full of queens. And if we had queens, I'm sorry, aces full of kings would be second best. And if we had queens, we'd have aces full of queens here. Jacks would be the fourth best hand, aces full of jacks. So, without the super nuts right here on such a scary board, somebody's finally raising, just a call is in order. You don't have to raise. I don't think we'd want to make it $2 or $3 or even $5 to try to get value out of a random 10 right here. And a call. Great. So let's see what they have. Pocket nines. We removed sets from his range because this was on the flop, and we said that he would have... we removed him on the turn. That's right. Because why would he just call with a set of nines? I guess, sure, it's a scary third club, but yeah, I guess I should have kept the nines in his range because it is such a scary turn card. Okay, interesting. Now we have, kings. Without the king of clubs. Okay, so it makes sense the way I played it right there. We do have the aces full of kings. The second nut hand, quad aces, was the nuts here. And then, whoops. And this last player, pocket sixes. Makes sense. Those are still in his range the whole way. That he would play it the way he did, min betting on the turn with absolutely nothing, just trying to bluff, and then min bet making a blocking bet on the river, hoping that his aces full of sixes has enough showdown value. And it makes sense. I don't think he should have called. I think he just wasted his money when he raised and I called. Guaranteed, I'm not calling with a worse full house than sixes. I'm not calling with fives right here. And this guy is not raising with fives or fours, so he should have. His bet was fine, and then once he gets raised, just fold right there. I wouldn't have called that. And and so I think my mistake in the hand, kings make sense for the way I played it the whole way on an ace high flop, although I would prefer a flop C bet next time on an ace high flop. Rep the ace versus these two guys. I think is what I should have done without a doubt. And then this guy right here, I guess I should have kept in his set of nines even on without raising. Dang it, no. I mean, man, he played it so passively. Most players, hey, Rob Gag, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Most players would have raised as soon as they turned that full house, even though it was the underfull. Why would you be scared? Nobody bet the flop, so nobody likely has an ace. Why would you be scared that somebody could have tens full or aces full of tens or something like that? He should have raised. He got very little value out of this hand. He could have got more value from both of us by raising on the turn. At least a small raise right there. Yep. Alrighty, well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining on this dual villain hand reading practice right here. It was unsuccessful because we removed the pocket nines from his range, but we had the pocket sixes for this guy in still. So that was a pretty interesting thing. I'll probably do something like this again, but maybe next time I'll give the full-on... where's that Flopzilla window? I'll give the full-on hand reading with reading the hero's range as well. Alrighty, thank you all very much, and have a good rest of your day. Thanks a lot for joining, Rob. I'll catch you later.